I think is a myth. I don't think we can multitask. We live in a very busy and complex world, and I don't think we can multitask. And this includes being at work and as well as it being at home. Often people compare our brains to a computer and say, our brain is like the superhuman computer, which is fantastic. Now, don't forget, humans invented computers. It wasn't the other way around. But people often compare us to a computer and they say, our brains are like a computer. They can multitask and do many, many different things at once. Well, a computer actually can't do that. A computer can't do that. A computer has processors within the computer, and please listen, processors, plural, that do different things. Different processes by different processes by different processors. Okay, that's why we have multi-processors in computers. So there's parts of the computer which are doing different things, but there isn't one part of the computer doing several things, and it's very similar to our brain. Our computers work on ones and zeros. Now, I don't really understand what the ones and zeros and the binary code, but basically 1 means on, 0 means off. It's like a switch, on, off, on, off, on, off. And that's what our computer does. Now, our brains are very similar. If we can't do two things at once, and we do have negative effects when we multitask. And what people often say, it isn't multitasking, it's switching tasks. So it's multi-switching rather than multitasking. So let's play along. I can see people have joined us. Hi, Michael. Hi, Michelle. Please grab a piece of paper. If you're watching on replay, please also put in the comments box on replay, and please do play along with the exercise. I've got my pencil, I've got my pad, I'm playing along too. So let's get on with it, because what hopefully this little competition or this little challenge will help us realize more about switching tasks. So let's start then. So grab your paper, everybody, and quite simply, here is your first task. I want you to write down on your piece of paper, down the page, the numbers from 1 to 26. On your marks, go. I'm doing it as well. I hope you're playing along. Now, most people have usually done this in about 16 seconds when I've done this in other sessions. So hopefully you got the numbers from 1 to 26 down. If you haven't, watching this live is not going to be very interesting. So please play along. Right, activity number 2. On the other side of the paper, I simply want you to write down the alphabet. Yeah, normal alphabet. Off you go. Go. I'm doing it, as I said. And I'm counting. Now, most people have finished around 19 seconds on that one. Some people find it a little bit difficult because they get them in the right order. But you should have now the numbers from 1 to 26 and the letters from A to Z on your piece of paper. Wasn't that easy? So you basically just took part in a task. You did a task, you focused on the task. Turn your papers over now. Oh, come on, no cheating. I can see Michael. Come on, Michael. Turn that paper over. Well done, thank you. I can see you, people think I can't see you. Come on, I'm sure Michelle's playing along. Definitely Michelle will be playing along. Anybody else, please make sure you're playing along on replay. So here's your next task. So listen very carefully. I will say this only once. Now I want you to write the numbers down again, each number by each number. But after each number, I want you to write the alphabet. But I want you to write it backwards. So you're going to write number 1 and you're going to write Z. You're going to write number 2, you're going to write Y. Did you get it? Great. Go. Keep going. That's it. Keep going. Oh, sorry, the doorbell's just gone. Beg your pardon. I need to go and get the door. Just keep going. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. The door's going. Sorry, keep going. Yeah. Um, oh, wait a minute. No, you keep going. That's right. Yeah, yeah. Keep going. So time's up. Oh, time's nearly up, folks. Come on, keep going. Keep doing the exercise. Hi, Ian. Welcome. Hope everything's all right there. We're doing a bit of an activity. You're writing things down. Hope everyone's all right. Oh, wait a second. I've just got a text to say the sound's too loud. Give me a minute. I'll just sort that. Yeah. Oh, countdown. Sorry. Got. Right. Well, I hope everybody you completed the task there. Maybe put in the comments to see how you did and tell me if you could write the alphabet backwards down and the numbers. Hope you could. I know. Sorry, it was a bit of a trick. I know. But what that exercise does, it really gives an example of when you're trying to do a task and you're forcing your brain to multi-switch and do several things. And I'm sure all my sound effects, as poor as they were, didn't help at all. Stanford University did a study on this and basically said every time we switch from one activity to another, Michelle's just said, no way. Every time we switch from one activity to other, we lose about 28% of the time that we allocated to do that particular task. 28%, and that's from when you have to stop to you start or when you have to recover and get back on what you're doing. Now just think about it. 25%, so 28%. If you retain that 25% or 28%, imagine what you could do. Now the reason why I keep saying 25 is because I've got in my head, imagine if I can get a quarter of my time back on what I was meant to be doing. So you may have experienced some effects from multitasking in the exercise we've just done. So what are some of the effects? Well, it can affect our time, that switching, where did I put that? Or someone walked in, or, let me get back. Where's that email? I don't know if you're one of those people, but you start an email and then it's on your desk somewhere. And you can't find it, and then you get to 5 o'clock and there's that email sitting there that you should have sent at 3 o'clock. Ian's just multitasking. I can see in the text he's actually making soup as we go along, but he was doing it in his head. I hope the soup's all right. What are the other effects? Well, the effects on quality. I don't know if you're in the exercise, you made mistakes or you stumbled. This isn't a sign of poor intelligence. This is a sign of task switching and the effects of that. What about stress levels? I put in time limits, I added sounds, it raised anxiety. Why in this world do we have so many different gadgets and so many different apps and books on time management when actually we find it really difficult to focus on tasks and projects and goals? And one of the reasons why I would like to say is because of multitasking. We switch too many different things. What about the negative relationships with others? Okay, so you go out with your partner to a restaurant, okay, your significant other, and you go out and you take your little communication device with you, your telephone, and you put it on the table, you turn it over, so it doesn't disturb you, and that's fine, isn't it? Well, it's not, because there's been studies done with regard to relationships, and actually just having the mobile phone on the table suggests that you don't care and you're not giving full attention to the person that you're meant to be sharing that time with, and it's an intrusion on relationships. Because what you want to do when you're with people is make them feel important, and by having that mobile or that disruption or that technology that go off, or even that mobile watch that beeps now going off, that detracts. So time switching affects your relationships. What about your relationships with customers? If you think about that customer relationship that you having with people, is that going to affect your business relationships? If you're not focused on your customer, that's what customers crave. They crave your attention. They want you to be with them. They're investing in you, so you need to invest in them. JC Penney, and did you know what the C stands for JC Penney? Here's a challenge for people. What does the C stand for JC Penney? But JC Penney basically said, you need to be courteous to your customers and spend time, because they are a walking advertisement for you. Vince Lombardi also said it takes months to gain a customer, but it takes a second to lose them. Interesting, isn't it? Not spending time. By the way, JCPenney, the C stands for cash, which I think is quite interesting. The shop owner, middle name is Cash. Okay, so more on multitasking. How does it affect self-esteem? That feeling of not getting things done, not being able to complete, not being able to start, too many tasks undone, lack of fulfillment. And Leslie, add all that up. What about the effects on stress? Okay, the effect on your health. In America, actually, a study was done, and they noted the more you multitask, you're more likely to report having depression or anxiety-related issues. A study was done in 2010, I think it was, where they asked 1,400 people who got hit by a car in New York why they got hit. 30% of them said they were looking at their phone. 30% looking at their phone, not looking at crossing the road. People multitasking find it difficult sometimes to sleep. They miss meals and breaks and have difficulty sleeping. And then the last thing I'll talk about is that stuff about, when you go to bed and you have your phone on in bed and blue light. But we're not going to go into that. I'm sure people know all about blue light and how it doesn't allow you to sleep. So there you go. I've listed lots of reasons and why not to multitask. We've established that you can't multitask. So let's focus on strategies to avoid multitasking. And I always like to pick 5 strategies that I've researched and used myself. So here's number 1. Number 1 is quite easy. Switch it off and put it away. He says it's easy. It isn't sometimes. But ask yourself, why are you glued to that bleeping thing? Why do you need it now? Why do you need it at this time? Have you got FOMO? Have you heard of FOMO? Fear of missing out. Do you have your phone constantly because you think you're going to get that text, that message, that Facebook bing, that dopamine hit when you get a little message or a like? By the way, don't stop liking and likes. Please do like, because I like to be liked. But number 1 is switch it off. Just think about that. Put it away. Put it in your pocket. Put it in your jacket. Put it in your handbag. Don't have it on the table. Just think about that. Another method to stop multitasking is use time blocks and be absolutely focused on what you're doing. Michael talks about in 17-minute sprints. I like to talk about 25 minutes. That's the number in my head. That's what it works for me. But basically, you focus on, and the trick to focusing on something is have something ready. If something pops in your head, that you just write it down and don't do it. So you set your timer. I like to use the little Pomodoro timer, which I'll talk about next week. But it's a little tomato timer. You might have seen that. We use 17. We use Siri to say, set a timer, and we do that. Or we use, Pepper said the other one that's behind me, that'll go off if I say it. Set a timer and focus. And the trick is keep focusing. And if anything pops in your head, write it down and then deal with it when you finish. Many people talk about setting a number of priorities a day, so set 5 and get them done. So that's strategy number 3, 5 things, get them done. And then I like this strategy number 4 is think about the disruptions that may come your way and think about how you're going to deal with them. So I work in quite a busy office environment, and I say I have an open door policy, except when it's closed. And I say that all the time. I have an open door policy, except when it's closed. And that sets the expectation. If Steve's door's closed, that means you can't come in or can't knock on the door because Steve is busy. But if it's open, that's the clue to say, come and talk to me. I've seen in some offices, and it's up to you how you do it. Some people wear caps and say, don't disturb, or they have a thing they hang on the door. I saw in America a thing where they had tape that went across the little cubicle to say, I'm busy, let me focus. So those barriers, think about, setting up what happens when somebody walks in the door. Well, what I do, I usually stand up if I need the person to leave. And I stand up and either I start to stretch or I move around a little bit. And that often gives a subliminal signal to people that you don't want to be disturbed. The other thing I have done is I have a file ready that I just pick up and say, well, I'm off to a meeting. Can I schedule another time? Thanks for popping in, but I can't deal with this now. Another way of, what about when your boss asks you to do something and you've not really got time? You can ask the question to your boss. You can say, which one would you like me to focus on? This, A, which you just walked in, or would you like me to finish off B, and would you like me to do it well? Would you like me to focus and have quality time, and then I can set time to do A? And I think that's a great signal to your boss or people that you work with. Think about physical barriers, what you can do at desks sometimes, but always do it with kindness. Always do it with love. Always do it with intention. Break that chain if you can. And my last tip, number 5, is treat your day like you were going to a conference. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to a conference, but when you go to a conference, I love conferences. I love going to conferences and watching speakers and, talks and various things. But you get excited, so you get planned, don't you, the day before? So you have your bag ready, your computer and your iPad ready, or your pen and paper. You've got your little badge on, or you've printed off your Evernote, or whatever it's called. Not Evernote, sorry, Everbright. Your ticket you've got ready. And you go to the conference, you settle yourself in, you get ready to hear the speaker, and the first thing that comes on is a speaker that usually talks about fire escapes and how the day's going to be, and the slides will be sent to you later and all that type of stuff. And then you get the keynote speaker, and you absolutely focus on what they say, because they're usually, the person they brought in to motivate, get you going. Then you have transition times between, your activities. So you go, you go outside, you have a little walk, and you go to your next session, and then you're completely focused. You only focus on the speaker. You schedule lunch. Lunch is usually about an hour in conferences, and the great conferences are the ones that let you go out for a little bit of walk, bit of fresh air. And then you come to the speaker after lunch. Now, if I don't know if there's any speakers in the room, and I'm sure there are, I can see people now on the chat, and I know Michael definitely is a speaker, an international renowned speaker, on Zoom as well. I've done speaking, and other people I can see here have done speaking. That session always after lunch is the after lunch session, where people are flagging a bit. So think about that as you're planning your day as strategy number 5 to keep you focused. Think about the session after lunch. Go a bit lighter on yourself. You might want to do your reading. You might want to grab a book and have a read and try and focus on what you're doing in that reading. You go through your afternoon sessions, and then you go home, and there's usually that feedback form at the end where you review what you've learned, and then you close your bag down and you go home. And that's a simple way just to think about how you structure your day and how you stay focused. Might seem a little bit long-winded, but the message for number 5 is really have those time blocks and focus on what you are meant to be focusing on. Now, it's interesting. I'll give you a couple of interesting things that people have said about me doing these lives, which have been absolutely brilliant. Somebody said to me, here it is, the candle that's lit. I always like that candle on when I'm doing my live. Somebody was watching that and were very worried that the plant was going to go on fire. So they were focusing it on the candle rather than me. I've had a few people talk about this chap here, the little monkey, a little gorilla that's there. And if you zoom in, you can see there's a book there. People said, what's that all about? People focus on different things, don't they? And focus. So try and stay focused on the thing that you're meant to be focusing on to avoid that multitasking. Now, we can't avoid that, but if we have a conscious effort and we have intention that we're going to focus on one thing at a time, one person at a time, then as I said, we might retain that 25% of time that we've lost. So here's my call to action for you today, folks. Why not focus on one person today? Give them your absolute full attention. In fact, try this for a week and see what happens with your relationships. So that's your homework. So just to remind you the steps we talked about, switch it off, put it away. Use time blocks, your 17 minutes or your doing 25 minutes, have that piece of paper ready. Number 3, do 5 things that you must do that day. Number 5, create disruptions. And number 5, plan your day like a conference. That's it. So it'd be great to see you.